Good morning. It is Sunday, time for coffee talk. I've got my coffee in my plain white coffee mug. You know, all my coffee mugs have a story, or I know where they came from. If they were a gift, I know who gave them to me. Typically the kids, or it's some place I went to, or place I worked, or whatever. But this one, I keep it because the story is I don't know where the heck it came from. Just a plain white mug showed up, and don't know. That's why I keep it. Don't know where it came from. Probably somebody came over one day with a mug of coffee and just left it at my house. So maybe I stole it, don't know. All right, let's talk about tanks. It is Sunday, coffee talk, time to talk about some World of Tanks. Mission specials, got a Kursk update, 20th anniversary right now. I'm going to talk about the specials as well, which I just said, of course. 50 TP is going to be here soon. The next on track, we'll talk about that. And then the subjects du jour, which will be Personal Mission 2.0. Common Test 1.1 is up with the Polish tanks and the new personal missions, which have some interesting things in them we'll discuss there. We'll have a quick conclusion, and then we'll get out of here and you can get playing tanks. All right, coffee talk, let's get started. So as usual, while we drink our coffee, we shill a little bit for wargaming. All right, wargaming, what do you have for us this week on the specials? Well, we've got some tier 8s. We've got a Mutz. Got a 120 1G FT, the Rev I'm not even going to try, Skoda, not a tier 8 obviously, and buried down here for some strange reason the tier 8 T-54 prototype, which is the Russian medium tank. So those are all good. Of the tier 8s, what would I suggest if you were going to spend some money? I would say that you can't really go wrong with the Mutz, the Rev, or the T-54, with the Rev and the T-54 probably being closer to meta tanks and a little bit better. T-54 is actually a very, very good premium tank. There's also the Soma, which is the month-long special down here. Don't know anything about that one. I don't own it. The rest of the tanks I talk about, I do own. I actually like the Skoda T-40 as a tier 6. I mean, it's not going to burn the world down, but it's not too bad either. Can't go too wrong with that if you're only looking to spend a little bit and have a tier 6. And it's minus 51%, which is a pretty smoking deal for that. We had a deal like that last week on one of the lower tier tanks, so it looks like they're heavily discounting some of the lower tier 6 and 7 tanks, trying to get some movement on that. Money-wise, and there's really nothing else to note if we bump over here to the specials. It's basically the same thing with these tanks that I discussed right here. Not a whole lot to add. So that's pretty much it for the shilling. Nothing really exciting other than to note the deep discounts on the 6s and 7s continue. That is interesting to me. Alrighty then, moving on to the missions, which are actually pretty good this weekend, and unfortunately you're going to see this on Sunday, and most of these are already done. Not done, but 2 of the days are gone. Hopefully you saw this. If you're just seeing it, you might kick yourself, especially if you're grinding tanks, because it's pretty good. Let's do Battle of Kursk first. You can see that I'm up to, I think, 16. It has just reloaded, so it looks like earn a total of 2,000 experience in any number of battles. Oh, actually, I did finish that. Never mind, it has not reset. There's a new one coming up, and I think it's a damage mission for Sunday. But we're at day 31 of 50. I have 16. I'm not going to do the math, but I can still get to the T-34 shielded. And as we are on day 31, those people who went straight through to 30, you'll see a lot of T-34Ss out there if you're running around at tier 5 or 6, whatever tier that thing is. Not sure. Did they make it a 6? Let's find out. Is it going to tell me? Tier 5, there it is, T-34, Tier 5, confirmed. Going over to the missions, so Kursk is still going on, which is, I thought, a great set of missions. Because it is so lenient on how many days you can miss. And they're not that hard, they really aren't. Coming over here to the regular mission tab, ranked battles. That's actually not bad, just playing 7 ranked battles. You can do this 3 times in 24 hours. So 50,000 3 times in 24 hours, top 10 by experience. That's actually a great deal. So that's a pretty good moneymaker. Granted, you're running around in tier 10, so if you're slinging a lot of gold, that's probably a wash for you there. But it is a decent incentive to play ranked, which is a terrible game mode. If you like rank, good on you. And I'm glad. I hope it works out for Wargaming. I don't particularly care for it. We can get into that at some other point. Object 140 on track. That's a good one. Maybe that's a good tank. But if we get down here to the, I don't know why it does that on that slide bar. It's so goofy. We get down here to the Wargaming 20th anniversary. This is the thing I was talking about earlier. That's a really good deal. Now remember though, when you're counting it, you have to count backwards. So it's 1, and here's number 2, and then 3 is here. It's not even backwards. You have to come down to 3, and then 4. Wargaming, why can these not be in order? And why when you complete one does it put it at the end? Which is not really the end. It's sort of the bottom right filling in the other way. And why can't this one just be number 6? It's no number. It's just you play and get a day of premium, which was cool. Thank you. But it doesn't have a number. I don't get it. But anyway, man, UI guy, Wargaming UI guy, or guys or gals or people, please stop. It's terrible. Fix it. Okay, so 20,000 experience earned gets you 20 and 20 and 20. That's a great deal. Not hard to do. 20,000 experience over the weekend. Good to go. Realize this ends on Monday, guys. This is why I'm talking about. If you missed it, you might be bummed, because this one right here is awesome if you're grinding tanks. 20,000 damage. You can do it 3 times a day, which means you could have done it 9 times over the weekend. 9 times 20,000, 180,000 experience on a tank. What that means is when you trip the 2,000 damage caused, the tank you are currently playing on that mission gets the 20,000 experience piled on top of it. Of course, that's good for crew experience as far as, you know, the number of experience that goes to crew experience. Actually, I don't know if that goes directly to that. It probably doesn't work that way. But it dumps onto the tank. For free experience, if you put it on a tank that's already eluded, then you can convert to free experience later on. All that good stuff. But if you're grinding, especially in the mid to high tiers, a 20,000 boost is awesome. Really, truly is. And you can do that 3 times a day. So get on that if you've missed it. On this, you get bonds. Now, this is the other good one. You're getting 20 bonds if you kill a vehicle and win. Holy cow. You can really crank up the bonds. I haven't played much this weekend. I still haven't even hit 4,000 bonds. I have never even bought one piece of advanced equipment or improved equipment. And then you get a ×2 experience if you damage a vehicle and win. So if you're grinding, ×2 experience if you damage a vehicle and win. At 20,000 damage, you get 20,000 experience piled onto that vehicle when you trip it. And then you're gathering up bonds by just destroying one vehicle and winning. This is all great. And then the old 1 day of premium, which is, you know, if you run standard, you just play that at the beginning of your session, you got a day of premium. That's pretty good. All right, so that's the 20th anniversary. There's some more to it. We'll talk about that in just a minute, a couple sales and things like that. And then this is the, remember the one on the calendar that you have to trip. I think that whole calendar sales thing is ended. It was a summer sale of blocks of different tanks. So this is the last, I thought it was a week last week, but it's not a week. It's a 3 or 4 day thing. You can get into it and look at it, but you remember you have to accept it, and it's just 15,000 silver, which is not amazing, but there you go. So let's run over to the website and find out the rest of the specials real quick for the 20th anniversary. All right, here they are over here on my other screen, which is why I'm looking off into space. ×4 for the first win each day. That's awesome. That goes back to that whole grinding thing I was talking about. Interesting that it's ×4. They used to have a lot of ×5 activities on weekends. Not a lot, but it was enough that you recognize that ×5 happened every now and again. Now it's ×4. That's a weird number, but whatever. ×4, that's better than ×3 or ×2 or nothing. 50% gold discount on tier 2 to 5 premiums. Those are the ones that are in your tech tree, all right? So that you pay gold for. That's a good deal. Even better is a 30% on tier 6 to 7. Tier 6 to 7 are more relevant to playing this game and grinding and training crews. The lower tier 2 to 5 often have weird crew layouts, or they just really don't make that much money, or worse, they really require a lot of gold to be very effective. But tier 6 and 7, that's kind of a sweet spot for premiums. Tier 8's the best. That's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck. But a tier 6 to 7 can make pretty good credits. Usually the crew layouts are close enough or the same as the higher tier tanks that they're useful as crew trainers, and it's a pretty fun tier as well, tier 6 to 7. So 30% off. Those are good. Exchanging XP for free, gold to 35, 1 gold to 35 experience. I don't do that anymore. I did a little bit of that at the beginning, especially when I was trying to push through to a couple of the first lines. I don't really recommend it, but hey, if you got the money to spend, that's a good deal for that. A discount on consumables and 50% gold on customization. The thing I will remind you about the consumables, and most of you know this, but remember, when they're on sale, if you're a person who gathers especially the large kits that are worth 10,000 when you sell them, and you immediately resell them or sell them back to generate cash, remember, when they're on sale, you only get the on sale price, so that would be 5,000 instead of 10,000. You're getting half of what you would normally get. So wait for the sale to be over before you sell those bad boys and get your silver out of it. All right, that is it, and those are the missions we talked about. Okay, a couple little items. The TVP 50/51 will be the next on track after the 140. I expect that to be on the 14th, based on, I think the 140 is done on the 13th. So if that's something you're grinding, you can look forward to that. Also, on Monday, the 6th, tomorrow, the prototype 50 TP, which is a tier 8 Polish heavy tank, premium tank, is going on sale. So that's the preparatory for the release of the Polish line and update 1.1, which is now in common test. The common tent. It's in common test. And a release date right now that I can figure out is the 29th of August. So that is about 3 weeks away. That's the date that it looks like they're thinking it's going to happen. So we'll see what happens there. This thing is pretty good. It's a heavy tank. The Polish line is going to go from light to medium to heavy. So you're going to have to do some goofiness with your crews, which is going to be irritating. Especially if you're not spending gold to move them around like that. Or you'll just be grinding new crews whenever you move from a medium to a heavy. That's another possibility. However, this guy right here will get a heavy crew going if that's what you want to do. If you're spending money and you want a premium. A Polish premium, then you can go ahead and get a crew ready for the tier 8, 9, and 10 Polish tanks. Of course, you have to grind through or use free experience to get through the rest of them. I will end up grinding. You can see up there in the top right, I've only got 41,000 free experience right now. Haven't been playing as much, so that will be interesting. I'll be slogging through another line. I'll keep you updated as that goes. So this thing is available on Monday. Looks okay. It's got a very, very highly sloped pike-ish nose on the front, about 170 millimeters of armor. So that's going to be quite trollish. The turret is Russian-esque, so very strong turret. Minus 10 degrees of gun depression, which is pretty dang good, especially for the ridge running. I've run into about half a dozen of these things, and that's what I've seen them tend to do. I ran into Air G. He was poking over a ridge, wrecked my Panther. That was very rude and mean. And a couple other players that you'd recognize the names who are now community contributors or such that are running around testing these things out right now. So you may be seeing them in the game. 122 millimeter gun with 218 pen standard, 245 with APCR, which is a little bit low, but it's not heat. So that's the trade-off. You don't have to deal with the heat, but you don't get the heavy or the higher millimeters of penetration. Remains to be seen. Initially, there was a lot of calling that this was an OP tank. They did decrease some of the stats from the test. We'll see what happens when it is released. I would say it looks like on paper a good premium. We'll see if it's OP or not. All right, let's move on. All right, the long-awaited second front for personal missions is about to show up. So we've got new campaign, personal missions, second front. This one is coming off the Armored Patrol. And new campaign has 3 operations, so there are 3 tanks to get. I'll show you those in a moment. Operation Excalibur happens to be one of the tanks. Operation Chimera, which is another tank. And then Operation Object 268. Excalibur is a tier 4. Chimera is a 8, I believe, maybe 7. We'll look at that. And the Object 279 is a tier 10. It's the one that's got the 4 tracks, 2 in the middle, in between, under the hull, which is really interesting. All right, so 3 different tanks. 2 of them happen to be British, and 1 of them is Russian. Man, that choice is bizarre. I mean, it really is truly bizarre. We're going to get into it, but basically you see it right here. 4 sets of missions, and instead of being by tank type, it's by unions or whatever they call them here. Union, bloc, alliance, coalition, groups of nations. Russia, China, Germany, Japan, US, UK, Poland, France, Sweden, Czech, and Italy. So in order to get to the 15th mission, so it's basically set up the same. There's 15 missions in each one of these things for 3 different operations. In order to do that, you've got to have all of the nations, or at least 4 of the nations, let's put it that way, research, and you may or may not have that. For people who have a limited garage, who may have been able to knock out the other ones by having at least 1 of each class, now you've got to have 4 different countries at least. And because some of them are better done by scouts, or some of them better done by heavies, or some of them are better done by artillery, now you're no kidding have to have multiple nations. You've also got multiple different kinds of tanks. Now you could, in theory, do all of these with an arty, but of course you're not going to block 4 times your hit points in some of these other missions with an arty, nor are you going to get the patrol duty award. But theoretically, you could use an arty for everything. So at least as far as that goes, that's interesting because, for example, if you don't like lights, some of the mediums will do some of the things that would be, you know, air quotes, a light kind of mission. And we'll look at those a little bit. Let's go through these. So those are the different 4 sets of missions. The second campaign is available right off, irrespective of the progress of the first campaign. So you don't have to finish the first. That's good news. So you can do them both concurrently, actually. Missions of both campaigns can be completed at the same time. So if you trip the requirements, you can actually trip both missions. So that's pretty cool. Each set has 15 missions, 14 right off, any order. That's a nice change from last time, which you can do on the first one now as well. But it used to be you had to go in order. And then the 15th final mission is after you've done the other 14. There are with honors completions and just plain old completions, like there is or was for the first mission or the first campaign. They have different sets. So the first Operation Excalibur for the Tier 6. Accumulative missions. That's pretty cool. Basically, everyone's going to knock this one out pretty easily and get a Chimera, or an Excalibur, not a Chimera. For example, unlimited number of battles to cause 10,000 damage. That's just a matter of time. Doesn't really matter how good you are. I'll have to dig into the rest of the missions. I don't know if any get really any more complicated than just a marathon kind of idea. When you get to the blocking thing and stuff like that, that may require a little effort. But really, over time, you're eventually going to end up with an Excalibur in your garage, no matter who you are. Which is pretty close to what the Stug was, although there were some things people got stuck on the Stug mission in the first set. Chimera. A mission can be completed within a single battle, similar to the first campaign. So that is the same idea of all the missions in the first one. You have to do X during this battle once you trip it, and then you get your 15, blah, 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 and you get the female crew member, which I'll talk about in a minute. All right, Object 279. A mission should be completed within a limited number of battles. Uh-oh. If a player fails to complete a mission, its progress will be reset, and the player will have to start anew. All right, so in a game with this much RNG, it was bad enough when you had to do something in one mission, especially if it had some weird requirement like light someone on fire or hit 3 tanks grouped together or kill one and splash 2 or, you know, all the various things. And now, wait till you see some of these things. You've got to do them over a number of battles. There will be wailing and gnashing of teeth on that one, I guarantee. All right, so each is rewarded with credits, consumables, same thing. There's lots of little goodies along the way, which is good. And then completed operations rewarded with a unique vehicle that cannot be received otherwise until they sell it. Anyway, check mission progress right in battle. That's actually pretty cool. So there's going to be some kind of UI situation that will show you how you're doing as far as your progress goes on that particular mission that you have selected. That is only for Campaign 2. For some reason, they decided not to add it in for Campaign 1. Probably time and effort, but still, that would have been really cool if they'd have done that. Indicator of personal missions in the garage shows missions of each campaign separately. Okay, good deal. That's just UI stuff. Operations become available successively after a certain time period. Now, that was kind of odd to me. So, obviously, initially, it's going to be the Excalibur, but if you burn through Excalibur, you're not going to be able to jump right into Chimera. There's some kind of time set up to where finally Chimera will come up. I don't know if that means weeks, months. I have no idea. Or if it's You personally, you hit the Excalibur and you have to wait. I don't know. I'm not sure why you would do that. I sort of suspect, I'm wondering if maybe that's some kind of way to see if they can catch people rigging to do it or some such. Although, for one that's just a marathon, 10,000 damage, there's really no reason to rig that kind. You just play and make it happen. When you get into some of the others with very specific and unique requirements, that's where you're going to find people doing count-ins and attempting to rig. So unknown why there's a delay there. Maybe they just don't want people bursting through and showing up with a 279 2 weeks into it, which is basically what happened last time with the 260. Improved interface in the first campaign, so reworked, blah, blah, blah. So that is there. So we're going to jump over now to take a look at some of the missions. That's something else. So we're going to take a look at some of the missions here. All right, so here are the ones that you can do over time. For example, enable your allies to cause 15,000 hit points of damage to enemy vehicles that do not belong to Union by spotting them or destroying their tracks. So there's a bit of this in there which is kind of painful to me. There's specific blocks that you have to do certain things to, so it just depends on if they're in the battle or not, and that's kind of hard to track. But the good news is on this one, at least, it's over any number of battles, so you're just going to play and eventually that thing's going to happen. What which is all right. So this survive the battle. This one makes no sense because this is the first operation, which is over time, right? Does that mean on the final battle where I finally trip the 15,000, I have to survive that battle? Even though I may not have survived any of the others, I'm not really tracking that. It's a little odd. Costs 12,000 of hit points of damage to enemy medium tanks, so that's doesn't have any block or any kind of thing like that. It's just costs 3,000 damage to enemy vehicles. See, I don't understand that. Oh, that's enemy tanks and then 3,000. Does that mean on that, the one I trip, I have to do 3,000 that game? And then 12,000 total? Maybe I'm missing something right here. Very strange. All right, so if we move down, what else we got? Enable your allies to destroy 10 enemy vehicles by spotting them or destroying them. Destroy an immobilized enemy vehicle. Again, unknown. This is supposedly over time. Any number of battles, but where's this? How is this secondary thing fitting in? That will come, but I didn't quite understand that part. All right, let's move into the second operation. These are the ones that you have to do in one game. Destroy 3 enemy heavy medium tanks. Okay, cost 2,000 damage. So that sounds kind of at the maybe in between the T28 HTC and the T55 regime. Some of these are more T55A-ish kind of requirements. Be among the top 3 players on your team by experience earned. Cause 3,000 damage. Destroy an enemy vehicle. Capture the base. Defend the base. I don't know. Capture or defend the base. Maybe there's some numbers in there. I don't know. Survive the battle. Stun an enemy vehicle 10 times. Uh-oh. Well, that means you're going to need artillery, doesn't it? So, Alliance, stun the enemy vehicle. Cause 6 armor-piercing shots to enemy vehicles. Armor-penetrating, sorry, shots to enemy vehicles. Wow. So you need to stun them 10 times, but you need 6 penetrating shots. Goodness gracious. Destroy 6 vehicles of 3 different types. Woo. Wow. That's survived the battle. All right, so it kind of runs the gamut, leaning towards the T55A type missions. Some of these are very interesting. I'm not going to dig into all of these because some of them are kind of goofy, but let's move on down to third operation. Now, this is the interesting one. This one, then, remember, like I said, is going to be over a number of battles, a specific number of battles. So let's just dig in there. Let's get an easy one. Earn Fire for Effect reward 5 times within 10 battles. Or secondary condition 7 times in 10 battles. Fighter reward 3 times in 10 battles. You'd have to look those up. I'm not exactly sure what the requirements on those are, but I don't get those all the time. Shell Proof 4 times in 10 battles. That's kind of that bouncing one or blocking one. Cause 3,000 damage to enemy vehicles within each of 5 battles. I don't think, I could be wrong, but I am pretty sure that I have never once in the entirety of my time playing this game, as good as I am, done 3,000 damage 5 times in a row. I could be wrong. I may have had a roll like that. I think I would have remembered it. I know there are players that have done it, and you know, if there's the guys that are chasing the DPG and the really absolute top of the line guys. When you're talking about people who have averages of 3,000 in some of these tier 10 tanks. But these are absolutely the best of the best players. I don't think I've ever averaged that many, and probably in order to do that, you're talking a tier 9 or 10, definitely. A tier 9 or 10. Probably ideally a tier 10. So these are very interesting. Destroy 15 vehicles within 10 battles. That's actually fairly easy. That's only a 1.5, which is right about my average, quite honestly. I think I'm at 1.6 destruction or something like that per game. So 20 vehicles in 10 battles, that's a little harder. 2 a game for 10 battles, that's interesting. 2 enemy vehicles in 2 out of 5 battles. 2 enemy, that's not too hard. That seems reasonable. Block an average of 8 enemy hits within 5 battles. So you can see, just dig through those. They're very interesting, actually. Block 30 enemy hits within 10 battles. So some of those may need a little bit of adjustment. I dug through a couple more of them in there, and that was quite interesting. So bottom line, all this thing is, it's not by class, it's by nations, which is going to mean people are going to have to grind a few nations probably that they maybe haven't. And that's fine. That's kind of the idea of these big operations, is to get people to grind and play the game. The first one's going to be very easy. I think you'll see the Excaliburs running around pretty quickly. The second one looks more leaning towards the T55A difficulty, and very similar to the first one, to the first personal missions. And the third one for the tier 10, these are significant. Some of these are not going to be very easy, and a couple of them and I've read through most of them, but a couple of them I've looked at and went, I don't know if I've ever done that in the entirety of me playing. Have I ever accomplished that in that number of battles? So we'll have to see what the possibilities of all that are. My concern on the third one is things like that will really make rigging, will really incentivize rigging for some people. Now, because it's count-ins is how you rig, it's probably going to be quite difficult because of the series of battles, and that may be part of the reason why they set it up like that. But it would still be worth trying if you were really dedicated and trying to get the 279 in your garage. So it will be very interesting to see how fast we see one of these 279s. I'm not saying there aren't players out there that will knock it out pretty quickly, but for the majority of us, that one is going to be really interesting. It took me a long time to get my 260 as well. So there you go. There's the personal missions, and that's pretty much all I know about it right now. Yeah, so I almost forgot. I said I'd talk about this a little bit earlier. And I'm going to reattack on this whole female crew thing as prizes. I talked about it probably 6 months ago, maybe a year, and I mentioned every once in a while. In this day and age, I just find this truly bizarre that a large international corporation would still have females as prizes for a contest or for missions or whatever. What? What? Look, man, I get it. It sounds like white knighting, or maybe it's something to not get worked up about. I'm not worked up, to be quite honest. I just find it weird. It's just weird. Why can't you just select the gender on your crews? I got it historically, blah, 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 but hey, there were women, who, especially in the USSR, who fought. All that aside, all of that aside, you're talking about a modern company, in theory, and you're trying to avoid silliness like this, right? This is just silliness. It should be something so easy it would be below the noise level. But no, Wargaming has to put it above the noise level and make females prizes. It used to be, it was unique because their sisters in arms or sisters of steel or whatever it was didn't work with the male crew, but they fixed that. I thought that was a good idea. So now they're interchangeable as far as getting that bonus for brothers in arms or sisters of steel, which I believe it's called brothers in arms all across the board now. And that was a good move. But why, Wargaming, are there still female prize crews? It should be a 0 skill crew or whatever, selectable male or female. All your crews should be selectable if you want to change it. I don't know, man. fix me down below. Tell me where I'm wrong on this. Tell me where this company could not make massive mileage by just getting rid of this ridiculous idea and making the prize crew just a better crew, an elite crew, a skilled crew, whatever you want to call it, where you get the zero skill brothers in arms thing and the whole rest of it. Why does it have to? I don't get it, man. I don't get it. Fix me down below if I'm wrong. Yeah, I forgot to show you what the tanks look like. There's the Excalibur. It's a goofy TD. It's got a turret with this kind of weird big old back end. Looks like sort of like an Arty, but it's a TD. This is the Chimera, which was apparently designed to take on the IS-3 as the IS-3 shocked the world and showed up, excuse me, at the end of World War II. And this was an IS-3 killer that the British built up. And then we've got the 279E, Object 279E, and you can see that's got the two tracks right in the middle right there. And I assume that's going to make the lower plate of this thing invulnerable to heat. It's going to be hard to sneak a heat shell in there, so that's going to be very interesting. Plus, it's got crazy angles on it. You can see that very bizarre kind of side skirt thing right there. It's just armored pointed up. I guess it's trying to knock the shell down into the tracks. So that's the tier 10. We have 2 new maps as well for 1.1 coming out. We've got Studzianki. I don't know if that's how you say it. Minsk. So 2 different maps right there. And then there are some adjustments to current maps, and I thought these were interesting. Glacier is going to have the carrier reworked, and I assume the ramp going up to it. So that will be interesting to see what goes on there. It says that it's unbalanced. I don't know if I've ever seen the carrier be that big of a deal. Yeah, if you get up there, you can do some good damage, but a lot of times you get wrecked getting there or just peeled out of there because the tanks can look up and see you. Unknown what the deal is there. Siegfried, seen position strengthened for the North spawning team. Yeah, the North has a bit of a rough time dealing with the Siegfried line. Many positions fortified with the addition of rocks, and more opportunities have been added with terrain adjustments. So not really sure what's going on there. Mines, they talk about the island. The left flank seemed to be a key point of advantage for the Northerners with easier and quicker access to the big island. What? The island? They think the island is the problem. Holy macaroni. Okay. We'll see. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's why mine sucks. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's the stupid hill. Province. Yes. Oh, Province. Province is now a tier 4 to 7 map. That makes it better. And Polish tanks are coming out. Here's a fun one. I guess I can't get through this whole thing without punching Warface in the, well, not in the face. It's a little joshing punch in the, you guys, in the shoulder. Oh, come on, you guys, you silly guys. This was something that they made for the History Channel, so you would hope they'd get their history right, or at least their facts. I'm not gonna dig through it. Apparently there's some more goofiness up here, but this was my favorite right here. So whoever the artist is that they had put this together, or the graphic designer, needed to run this by some of their researchers just a little bit. So first we have tanks to know. The Sherman M4. The Sherman M... That's a Lee. That's not even a Sherman M4. Okay, strike one. Strike one. Churchill's. Served a crucial role for the Allied forces during the Second Battle of El Alamein. Lacked the firepower, but I think we've all seen that. So this is a Church Matilda. Strike two. Strike two. All right. Getting better. Tigers. That is a Tiger. That is a Tiger. That's a Tiger. Later versions weighed 70 tons, making them the heaviest tank of World War II. Not that version. I think they're talking about a Tiger II, but why wouldn't they just say an upgraded version called the Tiger II was the heaviest tank of World War II? No. Okay, maybe they'll get it right. T-34S. What? The shielded one? Was there a T-34S that wasn't shielded, or is that I don't know. But I think it's just a T-34, really. So good try, guys. Wow, man. How do you do that? How? How? This one especially, the M4. And of course, that's not a Churchill. These two are just plain old the wrong tanks. These you can argue. You know, I got it. They're talking about the Tiger and the Tiger 2. Okay, whatever. T-34S. What? It's a T-34S, a T-34, the second, whatever. Yeah, that's a T-34. But these two. Wow. Well, okay, friends, that is it for me. Looking forward to the Polish tanks, actually. I'll have another line to grind because I just barely finished grinding. What I need to do, you can see I've got 4 million credits. I need to get the next 3 million credits and get that last tier 10 I don't own. One of the Russian ones, I think. I think the Russian medium is the one I don't own. Get that, get everything set up, and then I'll be ready for the grind. Which is going to be quite painful because what I usually do is move through to tier 5 and then fully upgrade to tier 5. And a lot of times I've got enough free experience laying around to fully upgrade the tier 6 and maybe even the tier 7 as I play them, and then I only have to grind through the 8s. But this one, you can see I've only got 41,000 and I'll have some more by the time I get there. But this will be interesting. So what I might do on this one is just play stock tanks, and then as I do the reviews and we talk about it, I'll put some videos out about how that's going. Going to be easier for me as a more experienced player, able to shoot some gold and do some of these other things. So it won't be a true new player experience, but I'll be able to kind of talk you through some of the ins and outs of the grind, of a more or less painful grind. I might have enough free experience by the time I get there on the 29th to fully upgrade the 5, but the 6 and 7 and 8 I think are going to be grinds from stock tanks, so that will be interesting. As far as the channel goes, thanks for supporting it. Keep on sending in the replays. I have tons and tons, which is a good thing. Feel free to keep sending them in. If I don't use yours, I try to respond to everybody, but if I don't use yours, it's because I've got a bunch of them. And if you send me a bunch of them, I'm going to pick a couple in there. But I've got a couple new guys have asked for help, so I'm trying to concentrate on some of the newer guys and get some of their replays out on the analysis. And what I would like to know actually is, it's possible for me to put out 2 videos a day. I'm kind of curious if you would care or not. What I'm thinking about is potentially a review video later in the afternoon or in the morning. I may swap this out, and then one of my tactics talks of taking on specific items to talk about in the morning. I guess it doesn't matter which one's first and which one's second, but so 2 things really. Number one is, are you more interested in the reviews of players, or are you more interested in the games where I look at a certain tactic or a certain gameplay, part of gameplay, and kind of concentrate on that? So just throw that down in your responses down below. Let me know what you think of that, and maybe I'll start concentrating. I'm also going to fairly soon, I believe, start digging into the maps and try to go back. I had a map room thing I had started before 1.0 came out, but I crap canned it because I knew 1.0 was going to change the maps. I think it's about time then for me to dig into the maps and start talking about a little bit about map tactics, which is something I cover on the fly as I'm doing the videos, but I haven't specifically done for a while any no kidding map tactics and reviews. So expect that to be coming. There's a lot of maps, so I'll slowly move through those as well. And lastly, if there's anything else that I'm not doing, I do reviews occasionally. I don't do a whole lot of reviews, but if there's a tank you would like reviewed, or if there's a certain map you would like looked at, or if there's something, some type of, or some part of gameplay that you would like me to concentrate on, feel free to throw it down there, because I can always use ideas. Sometimes I feel like maybe I'm just spinning my wheels doing some of the same things. So to keep it fresh, if you guys got any good ideas down there, I'm happy to take them on. Otherwise, I'm out. I'm just about out of my coffee. So grab your coffee, watch Coffee Talk, or better yet, play the game and watch Coffee Talk when you don't have anything else to do. Maybe if you want to go to sleep and you just want to hear someone drone on. Later.